I'm waiting for the moment when I heard that TikTok has been sold.
We'll see by June.
It's so soon.
Yeah, because by law it has to be sold on the last day of Biden administration,
Really?
which is in January.
Oh,
Otherwise, it's bad.
okay. That's very soon. That's tomorrow.
We'll see.
Okay. This is the first very concrete and practical thing of going with these mechanisms. The other mechanisms are personal issues. How do you deal with people? I mean, you have been into movements, sunflower movement, later on now movement for your tour. People are not rational. They are 100% always in history, it was the emotions who turned upside down things. We are thinking of fascists in the older days now, because all European countries have these rise of fascist movements, Germany in particular. A fascist leader is able to make people forget about their own rights. How can you counteract? I mean, Hitler asked thousands, millions of people, do you want the absolute war? And they all say, yes! How do you counteract this phenomenon with this more psychology? And not everyone went through a training like you to stay quiet, to learn as a child. It's better to stay quiet. People just, go up and say, yeah, I want this guy, even if he's whatever. Even if he's against me, even if he's against my own rights. How do you counteract that? For me, it's a mystery.
I think people go to fascist leaders only when they feel that they do not have agency, like they do not have a say or a voice or a stake in how the world is going. And so against this terrible anxiety, this terrible helplessness, it's human nature, as you say, it's not rational. To say that, oh, here is a strong person, and usually a man, I don't know why. This is a strong man.
That's a good point. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I mean, women we are far better for staying quiet in hectic situations. We always have
much more wise.
We are always handling 100 things that are stressing, and then after a while, take quiet. Yes. What is the idea about the strong man? This is also kind of an icon.
So it's like, I think recently we've seen Trump kind of dialing down a little bit after the attempted assassination. He is now about healing the country. And so on. But before the assassination, that was his speech and so on is a very model of the kind of testosterone, strongman, fascism, like fascists, getting the sticks together.
Like the Romans, they have that bundle of.
Exactly. And so, the pre-assassination Trump is a good study of the dynamics that you mentioned. And I think to counter that, it never pays to see it as a root cause. I think that's just a symptom. And the root cause is the lack of agency, the helplessness, especially among young people.
They voted for him.
Right, they voted for him. And they said, by and large, that under the current Biden and Harris administration, the young people were not given the agency to determine their fate. They blame it to immigrants, they blame it to other things, and so on. But by and large, people who have not yet finished college, or people who did not go to college, buy into the fascist ideas because they feel helpless. Their lives are being determined by others. So I think getting people who are saying in at least their community or state matters, that is, I think, the true cure. Because if they have a stake in it, then they do know actually how is it like for democracy to work. They have a stake in democracy.
That's what your point always is. Have them locally hands-on feeling I manage things. But I think now, if I may come back to the group of young people, at a certain age you are hormone-wise shaken, and you are in what we call puberty, and your mind is working differently. At least I know it's through my puberty and puberty, all the young people around me, crazy times, and it's something that is not even emotions, that is really physiology. It's physiology.
I went through two.
You had two. I like that. You tested it twice, so you know it really shakes.
Crazy time.
It shakes you up, and so I think at that age you always feel helpless, and you feel angry.
Yes.
Angry against parents, they're stupid. By the way, elders are stupid. And my understanding was my parents don't understand me at all. I'm the only one who understood the world. I had explanations for everything, except that nobody listened to me. That was also like I started writing books, I started being on my own, but others are not hiding up, others then looking for in their helplessness, which is not, I have no take on it. How would you, especially this group, how would you deal there? You have twice the experience. It's a difficult thing. You're emotionally unstable and you were helpless and you look for solutions.
And I think one of the best blessings I received when I went into my first puberty, when I was 14-ish years old, was the head of my school telling me that because I found my research colleagues online, I can just simply not go to her school anymore and socialize differently among researchers. And so I think when she told me that, I was like, yeah, but Taiwan has compulsory education. If I don't show up for school, my family will be fined. And she's like, oh, I'll just fake the records. It's the first time I get this idea, bureaucracy can be innovative, bending the rules. So it instilled in me this participation, because across the internet at the time, nobody knew I was just 15 years old. I was able to participate in quite high-level decision-making when it comes to internet governance. And so they basically saw me as an adult. It's like a Pygmalion effect, right? When you're angry and unstable and things like that, and then you see great wrong in the world, and then people say, yeah, you lead us to deliver solutions. You probably, Greta Thunberg probably felt this way.
Had this moment, yeah.
Right, exactly.
Had this moment, yes. Yes, she could be, but this is particular, I would say. Does it apply to, let's say, the majority of young people?
Maybe it could. Part of my work before joining the cabinet was in the new curriculum committee. And in the curriculum, we designed such that the middle schoolers especially, but also some primary schoolers, can contribute meaningfully to democracy through their civics classes.
What age? Middle class in Taiwan would be what age?
So middle school is when they were like 13 all the way to 17. And we made sure in our new curriculum, we don't say literacy or 识读 anymore. We say competence or 素养. Competence is when you contribute meaningfully to the society. And literacy is just individual, like critical thinking and so on. So according to the ICCS, that's the International Civics and Citizenship Education Study, ICCS, a couple years ago, Taiwanese 15 years old are top of the world when it comes to feeling that they can effect change in the society in terms of environment, human rights, and things like that. So by making sure that they can set an agenda, like banning plastic straws from bubble tea takeouts. That's something that a 16-year-old actually started. And then we hired her as a cabinet level advisor to our environment minister. And then we also saw, for example, the petition saying we want to go to school 1 hour later in time, because 1 more hour sleep, better study than 1 more hour study.
School, but I had no right.
Right.
You did it cleverly, but I tried twice and
You did?
I tried, yes. In the system where I was, you had to go mandatory till 18. So from 15, 16 on, I thought I cannot learn anything anymore. started to be a little bit annoying for teachers by saying,
Was it at the gymnasium?
yes, gymnasium level, and then I said, well, either if you allow me to jump 1 year and then I'm finished with this story here, like, you know, there was a long discussion and they said, almost all teachers said yes, probably they wanted to get rid of me, except for the one with mathematics. He said, the year of mathematics will be missing all my life. So, okay. Then I saw no way, so I just went out of school and looked for an apprenticeship place in a pastry shop. I'm very fond of sugar and cakes, so I wanted to learn how to make cakes. Panic around teachers, parents. I had my place to go, and I said, okay, and I'm learning a little job if I cannot learn anything more here. And my clever parents didn't talk to me directly because they knew that would not have any effect. So they took the only person, like your perhaps head of school, whom I was still listening to, and this one was, he was a professor of philosophy, and he was explaining to me that he understands my decision, he knows that I'm bored with what's going on, but, and so on, it would be just 1 year, I should do this little last year. So I went back to school, I finished my, what they call maturité, abitur, and so, I did it. And I'm not becoming a big chef in pastry and chocolate. I'm just eating chocolate. So I failed the job career. I could have become. I had a good apprenticeship course for that. So yeah. So you see, I understand that this is a period, but I don't think that all in this age can and want to take responsibility. It is a good feeling to have things in your hand.
Well, if it's the internal policies in the school, like what to wear, what kind of food to order, and things like that, the internal democracy, I think many people want that.
Yes.
Community level, there's a little bit more responsibility. Of course, national level policy, there's a lot of responsibility. Though the point is that when the people have ways to participate in even just a couple minutes time, a couple hours time, or if it's a civics class, then a day or so every week, they do grow this muscles that connects them.
Democratic muscles.
Yes.
So learning by doing the internal, the small scale democracy means you grow the democratic
right,
muscles.
the little d democracy, lowercase d, and if you wait until you're 18, that's
definitely. No, definitely. Really? Now you learn all the stories about me. I was learning to go to our school. It was so boring. It was terribly boring.
Vegetable.
some tofu.
After the world tour, speaking German, French, English, Italian, Spanish, Portuguese. That's it. Vielen Dank.
I went to Paris for 1 year. Je m'appelle Amy.
Oui, Amy, bonjour, bienvenue.
Enchantée. Je parlais un petit peu français.
Pas seulement un petit peu, mais beaucoup. Ça va très bien.
Merci.
Oui, ça va très bien.
She stayed in Paris with some pictures.
Et voilà.
So she read the text.
Et voilà. So you understand why I
Parisien. Merci
with my two first languages are German and French. And, but I definitely feel love when I'm in Chinese-speaking surroundings. Nothing that I can pick up. Nothing. The writing is. I cannot read it. I'm lost. Yes, now you want to explain something.
Yes. Have this.
As you know, it's very
Do you want some fork?
Are you okay with
more or less, I would be more elegant. I would be more elegant this form.
Okay.
I would be more elegant. Let's say it this way.
I'm left-handed, but then people train me to use right hand. Yeah, so I can't use chopsticks very well.
I'm left-handed, and they try to get me on the good hand. They call it.
The right
The
hand.
right hand. And it didn't turn out because I'm one, you know, that. I don't know what it is. And when someone was so usually I could do both. For a certain while, I could do one text with both hands. Right, but they look completely different because this one is good and this one was a little bit. So I had a young colleague in school who never really wanted to go to school. He wanted to go to the farm of his father. He was in a rural primary school, and he never was interested in anything. And so I did homework in two versions. He always got the right hand one, gave it in, and I had my left hand. And he made school without any problems, never doing any homework. And I don't know, they never realized that it's the same text, but it looks so different. And he then directed me to the father's farm.
Wow, you did that with no extra time investment.
No, not at all. And he made his school.
Cognitive surplus.
And then now I'm really more left-handed because I know. But a lot of I'm ambidexter. I'm ambidexter for a lot of practical things I use right. I think left and right. And I see that with people that are left-handed, I always recognize them. Only left-handed people recognize them. And left-handed people
Is it left arm?
he's leftist.
Great arm.
And then when you see that they are having this more ambidextrous thing, using the other hand, sometimes it's using for in sports, like they told me, the record, you have it here. You know, every new thing you test. So eating can be this, can be that, or
Not binary.
no, it's not binary. I mean, a lot of our physiology is not binary. Medically spoken, we are not. We are not symmetric. We are not binary.
And this is sweet and sour fish.
Oh, right. Very good. Okay. Well, thank you very much.
这个是什么餐？
豆苗的英文。
Very good. 对，先去小孩子等一下结账。哦，
你点出来了，
还有南瓜汤，南瓜汤。
还有南瓜汤。
哎呀，很险。我们年轻的时候，对，在健身房
谢谢。
刚换小的。
tofu. This is tofu. You say something with tofu.
Oh, no, thank you. I first came to and then well, one thing with my left-handed is I never could integrate the notion of left and right. Really. If someone deep in some other says to me turn left, I may turn right. I have to check. Yes, this is left. I have to check by little help. I blame it to my parents, always blame everything to my parents, and fine. I had a little dot on my right hand.
Yeah.
And when I was a child, they said, look right. Right is where you have the little dot. Okay, when the child looked, okay, right. At 5 years of age, they said, you still don't know where right and left is? I said, no, I know, there. They said, oh, at school you will learn. Started the story school. It still wasn't able for me to fix this very abstract notion of right and left. They said, at gymnasium, you will have to learn. No, I've always could quickly check. So, what's wrong? They started to say, but with a driving license, you have to know where right and left is. Driving a car, you need. So I had my driving lesson. Professor sits and says, turn right, I turn left. What's right? I said, well, you know, I have to check my little dot. What? Yeah, I have to check then, and if I have checked my dot, I know this is right. He said, you're not really trying to exam like that. Okay, we found a solution. We put a tiny little dot in the window of the car.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's it. So I got through my exam, like, right? There was a dot. Okay. I'm still very put up by mixing right and left. If it's pinky or if it's slate or if I'm not. I'm becoming better, you know, watch is there and there are a lot of signs, but somehow this didn't enter. I have seen other people left-handed who say, I don't understand this notion of right and left. I don't have it like a concept, so be careful with it. If you drive with them, don't say right, say go there. And say go point. Otherwise they may go the opposite direction. No, it's really true. It's a fantastic thing.
It really is.
And I don't understand, but
So you mentioned the TikToks. I think I'll come back some rules for using.
Yes, like not in the public sector and not in the street.
Oh, not in school.
Yeah, not in school.
From
Because
the
it's remote
primary school,
control.
from high
But
school.
from university onward, they're adults now, right? Because we changed our civil law. The university students are now all adults.
Yeah.
It used to be 20 years old is adult, but now it's 18.
18, yeah.
Right. So we don't do any restrictions on universities now.
restrictions what kind of?
On the companies.
Oh, you have restrictions.
Yeah, for school use. It's definitely
Yes, it is, definitely. Okay, so you have already... How do you... yeah, Taiwanese, that's another thing, our opinion. You are the opinion, we'll come back to that later.
our
Differences.
compliance during pandemic was very good.
Exactly, compliance. Not all countries have the same level of
I think that myself also, my parents many change. So because I can use right in time. I can use chance, okay?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
So you're one of us.
Yeah, Trump left or right. I mean, so many things daily life where you are very surprised how much you do only in daily life. My sister's a hand surgeon. I had a little dog there. She said, "Oh, we got it out, but I had to wear a band around my left hand." And suddenly I saw, wow, this one I can't do with my right hand. Very typical day. And suddenly I said, oh, I have to train the other side more.
so my son did that 10
Yeah.
I did not make him to change.
Very good.
Go this way. Maybe this way.
This way.
Okay.
It's a little bit far away.
Also change.
Perhaps if you could do something from this one or this one? Yes, please. Yeah. Ça va. Ça va. Merci beaucoup.
Très bien.
You could speak French to each other. After this, Aufnahme French. Would you do that? Thank you so much.
Listen, it's equal to this to them.
Yeah.
You should learn English. Every day.
Our French teacher, my Portuguese teacher. We had,
Anna?
yeah,
Anna?
the
Yeah.
lady that was supposed to teach French, you went for me Portuguese.
Yes.
Yeah.
Coincidentally, same teacher.
Yeah.
Same teacher. So Athena learned Portuguese, I learned French. Same teacher.
But our success is limited.
They are very popular. Teenagers.
What?
Take out.
I'm not young anymore.
Ageism is another thing.
Yeah.
Don't find the person by one person. How much kilograms she weighs, not how old she is in the passport, not how tall or small she is. I always say if someone asks me how old are you, I say, do you want my body weight in addition to my height? I can give you all the biometric data. But we get to learn each other. We learn to know each other. These dimensions, you can get them from I accept it. And it's important for what you want to do. Otherwise, there's a person.
Biology. And that's very different.
Different things. And people are different. Even with the same height, the same weight, the same age, the diversity is different.
Even if they're identical.
Yeah, that's the most, important to show that it looks
不用带，这点心呢，我们也来看看。他买了那个杀青的刷子吧。
对啊，对啊，没有，
I know. This is the way. And I've learned my training was
去年还是
everyone has its training.
前年，好像是全年都有去，好快哦，这一动就2年了。那你们喝点热茶吧。那是醋哎，茶的那个。
Some people sitting down and having it very close. Everybody's, you know.
衣服都摆放掉。 我这样子
Oh, right. Very much open.
Yes. 好，都是安心的。
那你先，我等一下没有先的，没关系的，没有事。
我等你要投票。
对的吧？
In German, very complicated, but don't stop with German.
You know you are last year because last week
I was in and next week I will be in Bangkok. So only this week I have plans.
you are so lucky.
Very, very interesting. I like to work. You know, the head of the World Federation of Public Association, and we have a small
还是说从以前你认识就觉得我不懂？没有啊，那个时候我还年轻，有一点，但是相对就不讲
where the streets are open. People go on the big highways, eat, walk.
烤面包机，他说你会烤。
Just one day without. She has done these things, and I wanted, you know, to learn from her how she gets into the food. Because always have
天马，我听说的。
this is part of politics. People always have people who say impossible. You cannot close down the end of the hotel. Okay. Made it. You were also other places, Middle or
So this time because it's just for the invitation from the Ministry of IT. So it's just for the Columbia Volcano talk. But last time in June when I went to Bogota, I went southward then to Brasilia, Sao Paulo, Buenos Aires, Chile, also, like all this and I had a great time. It seems like people are really resonating with the message of getting the young people more agency, more connections. Like in South America, there's a real issue of like corruption and things like that, and the young people are simply fed up with it. Right? So they really want something that can effect change.
there also set up with politics in general. I see an attitude that says, stop talking politics, or it's anyway corrupt.
Right, like any party doesn't really matter, right? Any party comes in, just be more corrupt and corruption. Yeah, I mean, when I was a teenager, people say that in Taiwan too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we had two. The first two directly elected presidents. They were very charismatic, very popular, but they had a lot of issues when it comes to corruption. And so, like, they belong to different parties, KMT, DPP, and there's saying that it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter because either one is.
Exactly. And in 2016, when we first came to the cabinet, we had I'm not partisan, so I had a very clear view that transparency is the best anti-corruption. So we made sure, for example, that we publish all the procurement tenders, RFP, like even before it goes through the process. And the Public Construction Commission was telling me that I can publish from this point onward. Like I publish historically. Maybe I get assassinated. Too interesting. Yes. Yeah. So in Taiwan, it took from 2008 to 2016, like more than 8 years, to establish a good enough transparency and ethics committee. So it's always a generational work, and it takes people who focus on the process, not on their careers themselves, in order to do that transparency.
That was one of my questions because I started to know Taiwan a little bit due to my great friends here and others. I had at the very first time the possibility to look at the, for example, health insurance system. You only have one since 95. Joined the three ones, single payer, which is very efficient, which gives good data. I look at it with heart, with tears in my eyes, when I know that Switzerland, 8 million, we have 58. Everyone has a board of directors, everyone has CEOs, and, you know, it's just a very cheap system. It's very, and now it's corrupt. The system is corrupt, and all the care systems in the world have a certain level of corruption. And I asked at that time of the single insurance, I said, if you have one single body that is a single payer, how do you defeat corruption? And they said, we don't have. And I said, I can't.
It's actually the system itself was created by multi-stakeholder consultation, and in the insurance community, there's very different stakeholders, none of which have a majority that keeps each other in check. It's like a mini commission of sorts. So by making sure that all the meeting records are published, all the evidence-based data,
Everything is published.
yeah, so it's very easy for third parties to look.
And to look.
That has been around. I think around the time when we included dentistry into public health care. People was like, this is too easy to read numbers, and so and so they went for transparency.
Medical care, you know, I do research as dentists, and they all have less more or less of corruption. In the Swiss one, I know how to get money out of the system. And it's not well managed. It still looks very nice from the outside. Very corrupt. But it looks good. I mean, the marketing of Switzerland outside to the world is perfect. It looks like the king comes to the paradise, everything is nice. But behind the scenes. So it was for me to see that could there be one care system in the world where there is no corruption?
The cost for corruption within a very transparent system is very high because you almost always get caught. That is the reason.
And so that will be fine.
Yeah, of course. And maybe sent to prison recently had a few cases.
Really?
Yeah, not healthcare, but a doctor who went out to become the mayor of Melbourne is currently detained for corruption. And that's partly because of the radical transparency when it comes to making donation, when it comes to the financial flow. But even though they did actually try a very roundabout way, it was easy.
Dr. Chen was one of them.
I think Dr. He in mind.
But now he's at large.
Dr. Chen is an external
Dentist.
and he was part of the team that got dentistry into the healthcare in the first place. Yeah, it's very good.
Which is excellent. That's why we got the award. That then got us a letter from the People's Republic saying, that's not good. Stop that. I said, sorry, we're a civil society. Go and ask someone else. We can do what we want. And stop it. Yeah, but
之前去你们家的时候是在金门的超市，对。
I will come to dentist in Taiwan. And they know dentists in Switzerland well. They always look at the salaries that Swiss dentists have. And they say, yes, we have a good life, we live comfortably well for the Swiss. So how do you deal with this, that people also have ambitions of becoming super rich and becoming Elon Musk?
Well, I think for Taiwanese people who have this sort of ambition, they probably immigrated somewhere else.
Already to
Yeah, people who choose to remain here accept a certain sense of social democracy. Because our constitution had an amendment, and in the constitutional amendment, it is written in the constitution the redistribution of like healthcare benefits and so on. The universal healthcare is in the constitutional amendment, so it has a socialist core that says any enterprise that makes profit exceeding the societal benefit need to be limited, and the state need to encourage cooperatives and other pro-social. So it's all part of our constitution. People who disagree with that, I mean, they're free to, I don't know, migrate to the U.S.
the US. It's in the Constitution. Please send me the article. This is really important.
全民健保写在宪法，修正案里。
This is that's kind of the charter of beliefs. It's a charter of beliefs more than constitution. And if people agree that we are living in a more equal society, then at my second visit, I had a very interesting. I went back via airport to Geneva, and there was a doctor's Taiwanese doctor. And I just had my first look at the healthcare system and thinking, wow, good, interesting things to pick. And this doctor said, "You're going to Geneva." At that time, it was Margaret Chan, the Director General, you remember. So, why are you going to Geneva? You have to tell WHO that Taiwan has the worst healthcare system in the world. And I said, this is interesting. I just want that to tell you. And he said, yeah, why? I said, no. I said, you definitely have to go to Margaret Chan. He says, look at me. I cannot do my life, my earnings. I cannot survive in Taiwan. I have to fly once a month to Zurich to treat patients there, private patients, to do my earnings. I already was very interested in that. You know, I'm a trained histopathologist, so I do know a bit about cancer, a bit molecular biology and everything. It turned out that he is an oncologist. And I said, oh, interesting. Oh, tell me. He said, yeah, you know, I'm a specialist in oncology and liver cancer, hepatocellular cancer. Even more interesting because this is a cancer difficult to treat. You don't have only chemo and really hard treatment. Very hard treatment. He said, well, I have a solution to liver cancer. He said, oh, yes, like, oh, wow. He said, yeah, that's, I'm treating patients in Zurich. He said, what is it? I was warned. He said, yes, it's a nutritional treatment. I said, okay. I just quietly understood because the single payer only pays evidence-based. And so I said, okay, the system is working. It's not that the system is bad, no, the system is working. I didn't tell him, my poor boy, you're the example, the system is working. If there are stupid enough people in Switzerland who pay you for telling them what food to take for liver cancer, lucky you, but
or hormonal treatments.
that was so interesting. This was really interesting. I said, okay, the system works. Only evidence-based is reimbursed. But in a democracy like Switzerland, we have in the constitution of Switzerland that homeopathic treatments are right of every Swiss citizen.
Is it a referendum? Like, people voted in,
No, it's
or was
already
it from the beginning?
It's there already. So it's not evidence-based, but they have right to reimburse.
It's constitutionally enshrined
Yes.
to get homeopathic.
Yes.
Wow.
So how do we deal with this democracy? Democratic decisions can put on things that are, we don't understand them. How do we deal with that?
Well, but that's the collective fiction. People live together, and as long as they're relatively harmless. So I think it's easier to accept, for example, homeopathic treatment for the common flu. Right, it's not going to kill people.
I hope so. That
Yeah,
hundreds of
I remember, like a couple of decades ago, there was a wave of something that replaced detergents in the laundry machine, and it's just a steel ball. It doesn't actually feel magnetic or whatever, but it actually shows the truth that for most of the household purposes, just washing using a modern machine is enough. You do not have to pollute the environment. So it's like homeopathic for laundry.
yeah, so it's mechanical.
Right, it's mechanical.
Mechanical cleaning. In former days was done like
Yeah, so I think some collective fictions, as long as they're not harmful, is not a bad thing. And if I have a really bad pollutant, then I will wash once and learn that it doesn't work mechanically. I will have to use a solution. But that is not the norm, not every day. Right? So I think for every day, it makes sense to distinguish between the collective fictions of mild side effect and with acute side effect, and just focus our energy on dispelling these.
okay. So democracy for these kind of things. That wants to abolish
Like self-destructive.
he voted against democracy, like all the right wings now in the European countries follow us to get rid of the democratic system.
Do they actually say that, or do they just do that? Like
Both.
different things.
So it depends.
Like on the first term of Trump, he said that, but many people around him prevented him
Yeah,
from
because
actually
they
doing
said,
that.
this is not good, you change a bit, my boy. Yeah.
That's right.
No, in the party, I would say there is a spectrum. Those safe and those good.
Actually doing it is of course very dangerous. And we need to ensure that the checks and balances work also on the international level. Like even if they're of the right wing and they have like fellow right wing in the European Union, now that some of them are in power, they need to be tasked of answering the international questions that those governments, not just domestic issues. So making them take in some responsibility may not be a bad thing, because they have to then justify.
That's what people always say, take them into government, they will see how difficult it
But
is.
not as a dictator, as they have to be part of the task.
That's what they did in Weimar
For the but that constitution was very brutal, as I understand. Yeah, it did not have Hitler as an example.
Oh, and they had 5% small part
There was no United Nations.
No, they
So no
can't
international
No.
pressure.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, but the democracy at the international level, the UN system and the multilateral system is quite another. But I here in Taiwan, that a lot of things go well. Simple things, I tell you know how to train. If you enter the train, everybody pushes, rushes, crash, and here you have a line for the high-speed train, and you wait on the line, and people look at the line, and they queue up in the line. My friend went to Taiwan 3 weeks ago for a holiday. Just said to me, have you seen these high-speed trains? I said, yes. Isn't that incredible? People queuing up, and then the train stops. documents, the numbers are written. You look at it as if that, but you know that it's not the case everywhere. He said, couldn't we achieve that everywhere in Switzerland? I said, no, we can't. Because people would not follow, they would just push where they are. You have perhaps an attitude. How would you, translate the thoughts to people with a different mentality, different attitudes, not so like some European countries. You have been to Paris. French people are not so fond of clothes. It's already if I'm in Geneva, a red light, I cross by definition. I will not respect it. I don't dare, because nobody goes over red lights. But in Geneva, if there's no car, you cross. In Zurich, you have to respect the red light. So how do you deal with
Taiwanese people are not known for very following the rules or very clean on the street. It was kind of rowdy. We did not have a metro system, and the traffic system was very bad. So I don't think she remembers that. It was in the early 80s. Yeah, it was a little bit messy, a little bit rowdy, and Taiwan was having an economic boom. Everybody gets somewhat richer in a very short time period, so people behave more arrogant, and so there was a lot of that. I would even say that even as recent as 10 years ago, the Taiwanese society was far more polarized and far more chaotic. People hate each other more compared to during the pandemic times. The trust in the administration and the democratic process in 2014 was at 9.2%. So not very high. Not even by European standards.
The difference is only 30 years ago. Now you tell me why and how you changed it.
Well, it's not this generation's work. I think it's a multi-generational work. I think a large part is including universal health care, making social safety nets, so that people who are not as competitively advantaged do not feel like they have to expect substantial on them to rush, like they have a certain ease. But that system was not there when it was not. It was only introduced in the 90s. So that's a large part of it. And also an idea in the education system that, as I mentioned, that people can set examples, even as young people, to the elderly, to the parents, to the grandparents. So having young people being kind of a reverse mentor. Yeah, and that also imbues in them a sense of responsibility. Not just because my grandparents or parents are rowdy or chaotic, is that an excuse? Exactly. So that is also very important to have the young people lead the society. And I would also say that during the pandemic, especially, we had a lot of ideas coming from the civil society, coming from the people themselves. So it's not that, for example, the mask rationing or the contact tracing, these are not actually compulsory. You were never composed into using QR code or anything like that. You only do that because you know that it's even more privacy protected, that it discloses less of your data to the venue or to anyone else, and that the idea was thought by the privacy advocates, by the people themselves, not the top-down thing. So it's sometimes called kind of surveillance or self-surveillance in the sense that this idea is crowdsourced from the society. So when the idea came from the society, obedience is easier.
Self-surveillance.
Yes.
I don't know if you know Duran, who is an author, a Swiss author. He has was asked to give a speech on Václav Havel's the person it was a peace prize Joe and his speech was why Switzerland is a prison. Yeah. He says, Mr. Havel, you have been in prison. You have been in a real prison. Do you know what that is? I cannot tell you that is after but that means in former times, this part which is called Switzerland now felt that the outside world is dangerous and that they have to stay together to protect from this dangerous outside. So what they did, they together and it became more close, so they had to put up rules that these Swiss society is together. And so more and more the thing became like a make the miracle that everyone in a close thing is convinced of being free while being in prison. You can solve it by a simple thing. Every Swiss is the guardian and a imprisoned person at the same time. Looks over his neighbor, self-surveillance, and so we are all living in the prison of our self-surveillance. That's very much cause of the pandemic.
Oh, great.
Did you know that?
No, I did not. I should look it up.
Yes, during that Watzlaw and it's a little bit longer. I did the shorter version because it goes longer.
It's fascinating.
Yeah, he explains to us that this self-surveillance system gives every citizen the feeling that he is free and prisoner at the same time. So the thing with self-surveillance.
That's definitely the case for Taiwan. That's how we went through 3 years with no citywide lockdown. Because that's really the only way. People who are home quarantined, they stay in home, not because physically it's impossible to break out, but because everybody was watching. So that was really the case.
That was self-surveillance, citizen surveillance.
Yes. So it's not the state knowing everything, but everybody watches everybody else.
Yeah, the Swiss Germans are known for surveying the neighbor very strongly. If you dare to put out your garbage at the wrong time, they will come and say this is not right. Or an Englishman came at the bar where they have the pharmaceutical industry. Englishman not interested in, the cleanliness. His car was not washed. His car was in the street. After a while, neighbors came in and said, "You have to wash your car." And he said, "No, it's not my time washing the car." They asked the second time, and what happened was, 3 months later, they came and washed the car.
For him.
And they couldn't. This is surveillance system in Switzerland, in German speaking, not in French speaking.
You want to try this
Yes,
vegetable?
this is,
you don't have this one in Switzerland.
No, I don't think.
Yeah. No.
It looks like spinach, but it's not.
No, it's not spinach.
Oh, right. It's amanzi. Oh no, yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much. So the Dürrenmatt speech fits into your question of who makes the surveillance. How does it work?
Yeah, and it's not hierarchical. Like I was minister back then. I was in charge of the digital part of counter-pandemic. And we had this social distancing rule that you either, I think it was early 2020, you either wear a mask or you keep 2 meters length. But everybody interpreted that as you have to wear a mask and 2 meters length. So I get corrected all the time on the street, and they know me as a minister, and they gently reminded me. Right? I was like, that's not how the rule is written.
You didn't understand me right. I wanted to say mask or distancing.
That's right.
Yeah.
就是好的。
This is really good vegetable. Something to me.
是高丽菜。
This is cabbage.
But probably doesn't grow in Switzerland. Looks like spinach, but it's not. No, no, no.
I think we have something similar in Switzerland for this one.
Yeah, yeah. But this one
This
looks
one-
like and has a different taste. It's a very good taste. Tell me about you. I'm talking all the time. You have been in Paris. You have been into a pastry shop and
One vegan restaurant. I work on a vegan restaurant and do some cake and biscuit
yeah.
and macaron,
Oh,
croissant, like that, something like that.
there is a back hall which are really sweet, sweet, sweet.
Yeah.
So what's your background?
What's your background? Yeah, what are you doing?
Nursing.
You are nurse.
I was a psychiatry nurse before.
The nurse.
A big change.
I said you are a nurse or you were a nurse. You are.
I was a nurse before.
Yeah. You were. And now,
Now, Office of International Cooperation.
you're working.
Yeah.
That's why we are short of nurse
Yeah.
in the hospital.
Yes, because you're short of nurses, you take them out of the hospital to work in
Yes,
administration.
it's a
Very good idea.
very bad of mental health and welfare.
Yeah.
没有长得，我只要有还好嘛，有地址我一定找得到。
Discussion about emotions is still
那个老人
bothering me because as we said at the very beginning, people are emotional.
敬老节，
And you can do them, make them do things that are inspirational.
You have to channel them into something that's better for the society, but you cannot stop them.
有人帮你财神，他说啊，你那个钱。
But now with the possibilities of digital, you can even create bigger movements of people being very emotional.
And we need to make sure that whenever they feel outrage, that it is channeled into something that is not against people, but rather against a common threat or a common situation. So a lot of our work during the pandemic is, for example, we saw that there's going to be conspiracy theories about vaccine use, and we foresaw that people who had vaccines and people who don't want to have vaccines will attack each other and demonize each other. We saw it in other countries, but not yet in Taiwan because Taiwan was very late in getting vaccines. So we decided something very different. We published in real time, and indeed, like every 2 p.m., the people's preference to different brands of vaccines. Like how many people prefer Moderna, some people prefer AstraZeneca. There's a conspiracy theory at the time from some numbers from Europe that elderly people, if they get AstraZeneca, they will all like die 1 month later or something like that. And so many elderly people did not prefer AZ, and they went through a phase of Moderna. No, BNT is even better or something like that. There's people who prefer Medigen because it's made in Taiwan, but there's also people who say Medigen is poison. They would never get Medigen. I got all 4 brands just to make a point. But anyway, so the point that I'm making is that by publishing that scoreboard, it turns it into like a soccer game like a football game. Like my team is better than
what
your
do you
team.
do with those who say no vaccines?
No, there's no anti-vax faction in Taiwan.
No anti-vax
Once the outrage has been channeled into this competitiveness,
You think that then they start to think about vaccines, even the anti-vaxxers?
right? So the anti-vaxxers did not have the same reach as in other countries, because in some other countries, people who were worried about AstraZeneca were very angry because the government was saying nothing is wrong, but we do know something very small percent is wrong, right? So the government being more compensated fuels the conspiracy theory. So the anti-vax people can recruit the people who were worried about it. But in Taiwan, we did not do that. We're saying, oh, you're the Moderna team, the BNT team.
You already occupied their brain with other questions, so they have no time to become anti-vaxxers.
Exactly. Yeah.
This is tricking them out.
It really is.
Tricking them out.
Yes, it's mimetic engineering.
Tricking them out.
We're very transparent about that. The mimetic engineering or 民营工程, I say that on public
Mimetic
paper.
engineering.
Yeah, everybody know that I'm doing this.
This is influencing.
Of course. But in a transparent way.
Mimetic engineering. I
Yes.
didn't know the word.
Yes.
I learned it.
Yeah, and the idea of publishing the scoreboard is the very old idea of creating what's called common knowledge.
Yeah.
Common knowledge is not just that you speak English or I speak English, it's also you know I speak English, and I know you know I speak English. That's what enables us to start speaking English, right? So without that common scoreboard, even people prefer Moderna or AstraZeneca or BNT, they do not feel that they are part of a community, they're part of a band, a movement. So by publishing that, it creates common knowledge on top of which people's outrage and emotion can channel to, like betting for their soccer team.
This is influencing.
Yes. This is slightly in the gray zone when it comes to morality.
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
well aware of that.
Okay. My ethical sound was coming up and you directly reacted to my ethical sound.
Yeah.
Where is the free will of the citizen, dear to Voltaire, Rousseau and all these people?
Yeah.
The social contract, the contrat social,
Yeah.
Rousseau, Jean-Jacques, et Geneva, c'était completely crazy guy.
No, it's very important to know that the government, by publishing common knowledge, also has a duty to explain the why and how of doing this. If it's just publishing, then it's like propaganda. So you need to be counterbalanced by like if you check my website, say it, you can see all 2,000 meetings of the formation of this idea was chronicled in it. So people can challenge it anytime.
Yeah, you're also quite clear and intense about fact-checking.
Yes,
But some people don't want facts.
that's right.
They don't want facts.
Yeah, but those
don't
people
want
who
them
don't
to-
want facts want to correct others also. They want to check
Yes.
others.
Yes,
So that is an impulse you can do.
that's a human characteristic. I want to check others
Yes.
and tell them.
Yes, so it's not the facts that convince these people. It is inviting them to correct other people's minds that inoculates their mind and make them think like a journalist. And that's the inoculation. That's the vaccine.
That's again tricking people out.
Yes. Yes. I should have filed IRB for all the mimetic engineering we
This
did.
mimetic engineering is not, there could be some philosophical, ethical.
It's like CRISPR, like genetic
Yes,
engineering.
psychological engineering of mass, of people. George Orwell.
It is a little bit like Georgia. It's just like the prediction market, like holy market, that shows us how exactly Trump is going to be elected when. It's a lot like gambling.
Social marketing.
Yeah, it's a lot like gambling. There's gambling in it, but it also fulfills an important societal group in forcing the gambler to disclose the information. So I mean, there's moral gray area between these two. I totally agree. But we need to optimize for the pro-social
But
transparency.
our two friends, Elon and Donald, didn't disclose.
No, they did not.
They didn't
They took
disclose.
advantage of the prediction market.
Yes.
Yes,
But they didn't disclose at all.
their platforms are sourced by just reading where the market is going. Yeah, so it's very agile, but they did not code themselves to the same level of accountability.
Yeah, that's it. So how do you prevent it from happening? It happens.
I think one of the main ways that we prevent this from happening is to exercise better alternatives on lower scales, like on state scale or on community scale, so people know that even if you disclose or if you're accountable in someone, it doesn't hurt your chance to get your policy through. The current Trump rhetoric is that the state and all these institutions are just holding us back. It is not pushing us forward. And this is what attracted Elon. Right? So to find out, you have to show that there are some institutions that are actually pro-innovation that makes it easier for innovations to go through.
Well, community level, I think it could work.
Yeah.
At the level of a group of people, that is how they shown so many US citizens. It's more difficult.
Right, which is why I'm almost always just working with states like New Jersey, like Oregon, like California. That they are comparable in terms of area or population.
I always think that governing small entities is easier than we saw that also with the smaller sized countries manage quite better than large size entities. That makes us come to the question of emotions between nation states.
Oh yeah, my favorite topic.
Really?
Yes.
Of course. Emotions between nation states. They are creative. They are sometimes.
By nationalist or populist leaders.
They want to get the world
看人种2点
for their own
在布局。如果我先放，
I'm quite curious about. I would just say what I observed in Taiwan, because Taiwan, when I was young, is really like two very different nations within Taiwan that fight each other, that don't even agree the name of our country. One side, if you go to their rally, you see the national flag, but they don't call it the Taiwan flag. It's the ROC flag. The other side, when they rally, they never use the national flag. It's like they don't even say the name of our country is ROC. That's the case when I was young. This situation is solved now with our president basically saying it's the same thing, right? But it took a very long time for us to get to this place. We senior people.
Like one.
Yeah.
I remember when I studied in US.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a quadrant. So the Taiwanese immigrated to US, and then they show our flag.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's probably take 50 years.
Yeah, it took 50 years.
Yeah.
50 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's now well established. I had a nice discussion the other day with someone who said, well, just simply young people, let's call it Taiwan full stop.
Yeah.
Let's call it Taiwan. I said, that's where most people can put it on the map.
Yeah, we have
They can put it
a
on the
compromise
map.
solution in my passport. This is my diplomatic passport.
Taiwan.
And it says Taiwan, and then it says Republic of China, but only in Mandarin. And
nobody can read it.
and the Republic of China is hidden here. in a circle. Yeah, and so I think this is like the compromise solution that we've arrived in.
Well, I think it's in a way easy for people outside Taiwan. Taiwan, you get into your small little life. But if it comes to ROC, PR, which doesn't need these kind of things.
Yeah, those people working at border control people, they get confused. They always say it's China.
Yeah. No.
They say, okay, China cannot enter UK without the visa.
No, it's Taiwan. I think, make it easy.
Yes, so I
That's
think
the name of the island and the little about islands. So Taiwan. Yeah.
So I think we overcame that divide, very large
Inside.
divide inside by making sure that like none of the polarized groups have a majority when it comes to the political power. It's just like in Taiwan we have like 3-4 major religions. If you count folk Taoism as a religion, Christianity, Buddhism, and some Islam for the immigrant and so on. But none of the religions have over 51%. So it's a little bit like Switzerland, where there's no language that dominates everybody else.
The Swiss Germans dominate us. We're completely convinced. In Geneva, we think Zurich dominates us. That's really a feeling.
Yeah.
Very strong identity. Yes, very strong. You start to feel Swiss only when you're outside. When you are on, let's say, in a tourist destination in Manila, and you meet someone from Zurich, then someone from Geneva would say, "Hi, two Swiss." But inside, the first thing they would say, French speaking. I come from Geneva, Lausanne or something. And then in between, the fragmentation with cantons also makes it very clear that every canton keeps identity. I have been doing my medical school in Lausanne, which is 60 kilometers from Geneva. I was appointed professor at the University of Geneva. After my first faculty meeting, one of the elder professors took this small little lady aside and said, "You know, Bettina, the Lausanne University of Geneva discussed if they could work together." He said, "You know, these people in Lausanne, 60 kilometers apart, French speaking, they don't have the same cultural level as we have." Literally. Ils n'ont pas le même niveau de culture. Yeah, so it's really very small entities that look at each other with despise. And because they despise each other so much, they can stick together. That's because people always say, "How come they are together?" I said, "Look at Dürrenmatt. Dürrenmatt has explained it. We stick together because the outside world is all bad."
It's even worse.
You know the official name of Geneva is Republic.
Yeah, no, République et Canton.
Yeah.
République et Canton. Bien sûr, we are different. We are in République indépendante.
Yeah.
And every so and so years someone comes up and says, "We are going part from Switzerland." Please. Never again. We are international. We have the UN. Ciao to these stupid others. and indeed, I mean, the racist movements in central Switzerland, they always vote against everything, everything that is kind of accepting others, because they don't see any other people. In the small cantons in Switzerland, you only have Swiss, German-speaking farmers, and that's all. In Geneva, people say, "Oh yeah, we need we need migration, we need people to run our hospitals, our restaurants," and then the majority of small cantons, they say no foreigners into Switzerland, no foreigners, because they've never seen one, so they don't want to see one. Someone looking different. They say, no, that's why I'm coming to these emotions that I use. My view on nation states is a little bit unhistorical as well. I think that this was created in the 19th century as a European concept. There were 2 or 3 nations in Europe, and then were the latecomers. France was there, and Italy and Germany had been small little bits and pieces, and they suddenly thought we have to be a nation as well. Put things together lately, and then you see inside these federalistic states how much the differences are. You say, I'm from north of Italy, and the southern Italians are Arabs, and we have the whole thing is looking at the differences and being quite, and we in the north of Italy work to support these lazy southerners who just lay in the sun and don't do anything and have mafia, and we have to work for them. It is the industrious north of Italy, yes, indeed, but you know, for me, the construction of a nation state is an artifact. And this artifact, for me, creates more problems than solutions.
The Westphalian system was already outdated when it was invented.
Yes, like the two later ones in Europe, they tried very hard, but they never became a real nation.
Exactly.
I'm from North Germany. I was always telling that nothing to do with Bavaria. I'm not Bavarian. I'm free-minded, north, seaside person. I like seafood. I have a horizon and not like people in the mountains. They don't see anything to the mountains in front of their feet. And this goes on and goes on. So I always think like the European idea of nation states is too complicated. Get regions together. Get a European region where people have spoken to say and say, where they feel their identity, their food, their language, their cultural beliefs, and then make this a European region. Every time I say that, people say, yeah, we have a nation state, it's organized like that. I said, yeah, but
I totally agree. It seems we're of the same inclination.
No, but it's if you work in a country like the US, you said you would like to go to, yes, but what is happening is one country is really one, and this is the shift of the new world.
Sometimes I think back in 2016 when Trump was first elected and already publicly say he will quit the Paris Accord and many other things. Right? I went on the record on Twitter and also on national television saying that I would like to invite the president-elect to Taiwan to feel the weather. So in a sense, Trump mobilized more climate activists worldwide than Obama did, just by existing as a kind of existential threat to the Paris Accord, which he did not actually manage to quit, right? Because his term was not long enough. It raised, including Greta Thunberg and everybody else, right? I understand, and I think that's because it's existing outside of institutions. Like in our case, our environmental activists, as I mentioned, even 16-year-olds, were invited as advisor to the cabinet, and they're Yes, every year, every couple of years, we have a fresh batch of 35 people younger than 35 years old to advise the cabinet. And many of them are just people who start movements. Like there's a young person who started a movement that there should be free menstrual products everywhere and so on. And her idea, like Vivian's idea, just became mayoral policy like within 2 years. And she was invited as a cabinet advisor, right? So a very quick turnaround from social movement status to institutions. I think that's very important. Like when we talk about radical transparency in 2013, I became the cabinet level advisor in 2014, right? So I was part of that.
We have seen that in the Global Health and Welfare Forum. The question of birth was discussed by a range of 6 elderly men.
Oh no.
Yes, I had to raise my hand and say that, by the way, birth that could be a factor in it. It's only a Very minor, but
For the meno too.
that was
The
a
male
perfect
meno.
meno. I took a picture and show you that was discussing work. I was so amazed. I had to raise my hand. You were not there, but you know me. I'm terrible. I was so saying, okay, I don't mind.
Okay, I'll take your word for it.
You will. There was the first session of the second day.
Second day?
Yeah.
Which session? In the morning or
In the morning.
In the morning?
Plain auditory session in the auditory 1101.
Okay.
Only men discussing birds. Very interesting, what I always loved.
Okay.
So
少子化，有
I
点
had to say maybe there is maybe
Maybe women are giving birth. Maybe some correlation.
There could be
Not
some,
causation.
not consistent, but otherwise I would advise these elderly men, do it yourself. Just do it. If you want more birth, do it. Please.
It's the artificial warm or something. I'm sure Elon Musk can help.
He has for everything, especially for himself.
That's right.
Yeah. So you say it's already taken into government.
Yes.
And then if you take them in as advisor, it's a temporary role.
But then the role of the advisor is to steer the cabinet members to think in the socially innovative way, and also for the career public service to get acquainted, so that they see it not as an outside disruption, but as a new way to get legitimacy and yes. And so either the reverse mentor after 2 years go back to private sector or to charity, or they become minister like I did. Right? Because then the public service understands that I'm not doing this for my political ambition. I don't have a political ambition. I'm just here to make the process work. Right? So once they understand that, then everything we talk about, social innovation, presidential hackathons, the idea of reverse mentorship on the cabinet level, they all become institutionalized as national level regulations. So that I've moved on to cybersecurity and non-ambassadorial work, but all the systemized design remain in place. And so I think that's the best thing, is that it takes the fighting energy and into co-creation.
This goes well if people are willing to collaborate. What do you do with those who don't want?
Well, if they don't want to collaborate, you find other people who want to collaborate. And the collaborators can gain, a higher ground than the people who are just for themselves.
And creating the anti-movement.
And the anti-movement is also part of the energy we can tap into. Right? So I think the point I'm making really is that in Taiwan, our polity, indeed the name of Taiwan comes from the Tavoan the indigenous Austronesian nation, the Tavoan nation. And the name Taiwan means a place of convergence. A place where like mountain meets river and like very different things meet. That's what Taiwan means. And
Nobody told me. Indigenous language.
Yes, it's a Austronesian language, and I even translated these 4 words, which literally means in the middle, and culture or flower, and citizen and republic. So I translated this as a transcultural republic of citizens. which is not the usual translation, which was Republic of China, but it's still TROC. But anyway, the point I'm making is by translating this as a transnational, transcultural republic citizens, it's the same meaning as Taiwan. It's saying that differences are to be celebrated, and also transculturalism is our culture. And that resolves the tension we just talked about. Yeah, which is like your nation against my nation, and this fight itself can be a national identity.
Yeah. Well, I do work a lot with indigenous people from New Zealand, Maori. I have learned a lot about the way they are living. So this European thinking that I was brought up in is very much binary differences.
Like mutually exclusive, comprehensive.
Yes. The thing where I always say it's absolutely bad for your house is stereotypes. Then women, white, black, tall, small, always. First of all, it is artificial. Second, you can never, it's always between white and black, there is a gray zone. Between men and women, between small and large, there is also where do you say it's small and where do you say it's
Most people are in between.
Yeah. And I see that with indigenous language, they are more into the in-between things.
Exactly.
They deal with the in-between things. And so Taiwan means the middle where river and road meet.
Yeah, where like the place of convergence. Yeah, I think that's the right English translation.
Place of convergence. Love that. But again, Taiwan is small enough, 23 million, right? To have what you engineered, your engineering, your mimetic engineering. We have now these, I would say, global issues, where we really have to come together globally. We have to come globally. If we don't manage that, for me, lost society. We have to come together globally. How do you manage it globally? Globally is everyone can create it. You, not you, me.
Yeah, we need a kind of new transcultural universal religion of sorts. And I think sustainable development is the beginning of one of such religions. Because it's also two very opposite things. To sustain is to continue indefinitely. To develop is to grow. And these two are actually in contrast. But binding them together and say, oh, the global goal is to develop sustainably. And there is the 17 colors, the flower or something like that. No goals left behind. And I think that's something that really gets people really not thinking like I'm the global majority or I'm the global north or something. It's more like, oh, here we all fail if the goals are not met. Yeah, so we need more of these things.
I'm allergic to all these terms like low north, low south, low income, high income. I always say, I don't like that.
That's right.
I don't like them.
So that's
I say,
low income.
Yeah.
I can tell you that low income is everything.
Exactly. That's my point. So by saying global goals, it transcends. Like the Millennium Goals was about the global north and global south. But for the global SDGs, that transcends the artificial distinction.
Tries to.
Yeah, but it's the right
It is the right direction. It's better than the Millennium Goals. Colonial attitude, like you the poor will take a poor, daddy comes and helps you.
Exactly. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
I'm terrific. I'm always not. I'm not politically correct in my way of speaking, but
very good.
Sorry, I need to leave now because I have another meeting to go. You can stay. You stay? Okay. Yeah.
you have to leave.
Yeah, because I have another meeting.
Who are you? what about the side event in Geneva?
Yes.
Will we have someone like Audrey?
Yeah, I think we first thing we'll decide the main thing,
Is digital
digital.
and
Digital,
artificial intelligence.
yeah, in healthcare or
Healthcare.
in mental health coverage, something like that. Yep. Sure.
Okay, so this would be already, and then why healthcare is the basis of
最后还给你再来一次，
unifying.
对，就差不多。
As I heard in Taiwan,
Yeah.
the move from a society of understanding went in the 80s
Yeah.
through social system and health.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. I will discuss with Dr. 石崇两说.
With his superior.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Yeah. Yes,
Like in the Emirates, we have
Yes.
to ask the king.
Yes.
We have to ask
We
the
have to
king.
get approval, the majestic approval.
Yes.
We have to ask the king.
Yes. Yeah.
When in Dubai that came, I said, oh God, we have to ask the king.
Okay. So maybe I will see you in Geneva
Yes.
Yeah.
When are you back in Geneva?
in 2 weeks.
In 2 weeks? In 2 weeks means
No.
20, end of November?
I just there for vacation.
Yes.
It's not that easy.
Yes, but we can also meet like see your grandson.
Yes, my
And
grandson.
see important movements like
Yeah.
that's why I said
For 13 years.
when do you want?
Actually, 23rd.
23rd. Oh, I'm leaving Geneva because I celebrate my birthday in the north.
Oh,
24th,
yeah,
I celebrate.
it's okay. It's good.
And how long do you stay?
Just 1 week. Just 1 week.
Okay, end of the week I'll have a look at your small room.
Okay, so
Greetings to you and all the family.
yeah.
And
Yeah, so Johnny.
thank you so much. Thank you for facilitating. Absolutely fascinating possibility. Honored. Thank you. You have the right to stay with us, or you have to leave?
I stay here with you.
Okay, very good. So we were into the global goal because I think what we see now is the most important that we get globally together. I think what you say is community, I always can manage. I have managed one country way to 100 million from all over Europe who were breast cancer patients to fly 4,000 amounts to India. They said this is impossible, and I said, let's together. Walking on a rope is a symbol for doing things together. So, like going on a rope to a high mountain, you need a guide, you need a company together. Make it. See, once you have been on a high mountain, you look at things differently. Like after a disease, your view on things is I don't take things so serious. Important things first. And that's a lot of women with breast cancer tell me, I changed my attitude in life. I said, that's my But having been on a 4,000, I put it down at nothing village. It's the same, like what is important? So I think at a small level you can persuade us to do amazing things. They all said, I didn't believe I can do that. So from Malta is an island in the Mediterranean Sea, only hot. No mountains and no snow, never ever seen snow. So they came from Malta, 64-year-olds, having passed through breast cancer, and then they climbed a 4,000 mountain on a rope with a guide in the snow on the glacier. She was like, she was then portrayed on Malta news as well. I think we can do this small events, but how do you manage these enormous groups? How do you manage? Manage, because you talk about engineering, I allow myself to use the word manage.
Yeah, and the thing about memes is like it's like a virus.
Yes.
So it does not need micromanaging. If the memes are right, they take on life by themselves, and then they spread. So I think part of the reason why, during the pandemic, I coined this meme called "humor over rumor."
Yes,
right?
yes, we love them.
Yeah, as a cute smoked dog, right, and so on. And that meme really took off. We saw many people from New Zealand to Europe and so on, just listening to this meme.
Yeah.
And then they worked with local comedians, right? I certainly did not manage that, but it became very popular playbook.
Taken up, yeah.
Right. So I think we need to work on mimify those global goals, so that not just the academic people or the policymakers, but rather people can just hear or even see a hashtag and then just start organizing around those ideas, not organizing around a leader. Because if you're organizing around a leader, there's a limit.
Yes, and it can be dangerous.
Very much so. Yeah. Right, if the leader becomes corrupt. And many leaders were quite sane when they were young. Yeah,
And
like
then-
when Putin was young, he was probably very clever.
He was very brave. Yeah, indeed. So there I need limifying. I understand. I'm always looking for how to put into the picture something, simply understandable. The idea of global health. Global health means we only can live together healthy together. But how to make it in picture? If you ask the classical communication agencies, what they show you as a picture is a doctor with a white blouse and I said, no, come on. I talk about health, not about disease management. They have no clue how to put that into, imaginary thinking. I think I'm convinced that thinking in images is a very good way for a lot of people. I like to think.
It's literally a vision, right?
Yeah, as a vision.
Vision,
Yeah.
yeah.
How would you do that? Because it's very, the word is terrible. It's so abstract. Having said that, is it not visionary that people say?
Yeah, there's many ways, right? One way, easy way, is through art, and yeah, something that people can participate in is even better, right? So art that is participatory. For example, not many people know about the disease that makes you paralyzed over time, but once there's an ice bucket that you can put on your head, yeah, and challenge other people, right? So that's art, performative art, and that you can participate in. And suddenly everybody knows about ALS. ALS was one of the most appealing conditions, right? So people need something like that they can feel they're artists too. They're not just purveyors and viewers.
金城武在我们这个场合比赛，对不对？这就是比不上。
But this is one specific disease. With diseases, I know how you cancer. There are ways, but health is more abstract.
这个时候就是啃下去。
Because health, you don't realize it as long as you have it.
That's right. It's like clean water or clean air.
You take it for granted.
大闸蟹上来全场都看棒都在啃。
So how do you sell something that is not visible?
I think it's much easier if you do the other way around, which is to, like, people say that they were born at this and that ppm, right, where the CO2 was lower. And then they say that, oh, now the CO2 is higher, the CO2 is higher. But always when you see, like, a war, inconvenient truth and so on, they start with the vision of the world already destroyed by heat waves or by rising tides and so on. So I don't think the normal way works, because exactly as you say, people don't think about it as working well. You really need to paint like a very narrow path to sustainability, and then on one side maybe it is falling into wildfire and flood and things like that. The other side maybe people try geoengineering, blocking the sun, and then the entire world freezes over or something like that, right? So you need to have very vivid failure cases in order for people to appreciate what they have.
So you want to have chaos scenarios.
Yes,
You want to frighten people.
of course. Like to the right level of awareness, not too much. Just a little bit. Again, morally, very good.
Yeah, it's starting to have scenarios. Yeah, but this can also turn the whole reaction from people getting panic, people getting depressed.
Yes.
Suicidal.
Yeah, which is the first time Buddha spoke his ideas. A lot of people committed suicide in his students because he put it too straightforward. It's like life is suffering, it's painful, and they just literally committed suicide. So he changed his textbook. So I think that the degree is important. We cannot be like too panicky, like too much cortisol or adrenaline. Yeah, we need to deliver a sense of calmness, but then also say, here are the likely scenarios that lead to like pessimistic outcomes, and here are the like one or two things you can do, and making sure the things they do next to what like as what the challenge.
It's a dangerous cause, as you said, the chaos scenarios. Because people are mentally not stable. Fall down and run over the other direction.
Exactly. Yes, that is true. Just like when we say like this many people don't want AstraZeneca, it still feels a sense of fear or panic, right? But the rationale of us doing so is that if we do not do anything, it's not like everybody else will stop saying things about AstraZeneca. An even more potent virus will enter our community. We already saw that in Europe at the time, right? So it's like an imperfect vaccine, right? You trigger some bad reactions, right? But you forestall the actual virus from
Yeah, that's playing around with psychology.
I understand. Yeah. So you don't do that for fun, right? You do that out of necessity.
So people who are doing this engineering, let's say this genetic engineering, have to be also very advanced.
And transparent. We need to get more people of high moral standards and let them know the balance and the art and skill. Because otherwise it's, the good people not doing politics, the result is bad people in politics.
That's the most interesting thing, that it's difficult to get people as leaders. I was sitting there with colleagues when we saw my first I said, why do people want to have the worst of why do they need except for some
Yeah, there's a name for that. Capisto prejudice. Yeah, the bad people at the top.
Yes, the malignant. We said the kleptocrats and the And why do we do that?
As I mentioned, it's because the good people, the accountable and honest people, maybe fear politics is beyond these lines. Yeah, so we need to bridge. That's really the only way.
the bridging with will there buy in? Will there buy in?
Yeah. I think it goes both ways, right? It's not necessarily we adapting ourselves to party politics. Like for 8 years, I never attended a single party rally. I did not play by the old rules. But rather, I said, this is a new way to do politics. And it's not about following me, it is about following these principles. I think that is really the only way to prevent against corruption. Because, like, even myself, maybe when I turn 90-year-old, I become corrupt because my cognitive function are not the same.
You never know.
Yeah, you never know, right?
You never know.
Yeah.
So how many people did you get on board into your example?
Very, very many.
Yeah.
An entire generation of politicians. There are many who did not come from a political background, who nevertheless went into politics because they saw that they don't have to play by the old rules, don't have to live in party politics and so on. Like many people, like the head of the digital department in Taipei, he asked like whether he can skip those lengthy drinking dinners, and people told him, well, Audrey does that, and he's like, oh, I would like Audrey. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's a lot about the rights, how do you say the processional things in politics, drinking,
Yeah, status game.
status game, very male-dominant things. You know the story like Putin said to the German friends that she refused to drink vodka because Russian real men drink a lot of vodka. Ridiculous her by saying she cannot be a real foreign minister if she's not. And she said, well, you
Ooh, it's very good. Very, very good.
there was a little bit like this. It was a little bit. She was criticized being not very politically correct, but I think it's
Yeah, I think it's really a cultural change that affected very intentional, like having the guts to talk back. That's very important.
These people that you brought in, like the person in digital affairs in Taiwan, are they able to speak up to that? Even if they are educated.
So the obedience to your fellow neighbors is not
Okay. Well, this is for grown-ups. Children wouldn't learn like this. Children wouldn't say, obedience, I'm not obedient to anyone or I'm obedient to everyone. And you got more people into positions that are not forced to play power games and forced to play the classical
And even our foreign minister now, he has like meets a condition that if we drink alcohol, even just a little bit, we feel very bad. So he's, I think, the first foreign minister that says, alcohol is optional.
Alcohol is bad for my health.
Right,
Bad for the health of everyone, by the way.
Exactly. So that's very
In
good.
Muslim countries, there's nothing. You cannot, and that's good for the health. Alcohol is a cytotoxic drug.
Yes, even in small amounts, it's very
It's
bad.
cytotoxic. It is against your own body. So more and more, I'm saying no, thank you. Because in Europe, it's again a tradition, but it changes. Especially with more women coming into this. They have a lot of reasons not to drink. They have more interest for some reasons, and so maybe changing. But how would you then manage it at the UN level? Because I'm working with WHO, I'm working with the International Labour Organization, all these institutions where the reasons and things come from different places. And you say, okay, Muslim countries, no problem, they have a drink, so forth, except for when they are looked at. They don't drink, others need, like vodka is the power-assuring drop of warmth. Everything comes together. How do you make it happen at that level? I know you like to work at the local and at the community, but we still have to come together in some place. How do you get this done?
Yeah, I think it's easier if it's not just multilateral. If it is multilateral, if it's bilateral, mini-lateral, multi-stakeholder, then it's always easier to arrange for the same dynamic as community. But in multilateral, that's strictly the idea of Westphalian sovereignty, nation states again interplay, and everybody was like, oh, if I don't represent myself, then none of the other 178 will represent me, and then it's a zero-sum game, right? So I think it's much easier if, like again in SDGs, they have this idea of major groups, of stakeholder groups, of a tier. Right, that's right. And so I think that's a much better arrangement than the traditional multilateral.
Okay, so in fact, you would break down how the
multi-stakeholder, unilateral, a set of bilateral.
And they come together.
They don't have to come together. They can just publish transparently into the commons what they commonly agreed upon, and then have norms, treaties to be the binding factor. I think if you start with norms, and it's always easier for somebody who are like an outlier, an authoritarian country, to just say that, oh, it's a good norm, so we're adopting it for ourselves. But if it is multilateral, then it feels like colonization again, right? The G20 set the rules, and I have to obey. Right, exactly.
Yeah, the colonizing aspect in here is still very strong.
In the field I'm more familiar with, like AI, the G7 is part of all the international organizations that makes multi-regional decisions. And 170 countries are not part of any of those cross-region arrangements. So it's very colonizing. It is naked colonization.
G7, G20 are extremely, I honestly call it
Exactly.
there is neocolonialism going on in a very strong way now. So how do you, I stopped with all my questions. How do you come about we have 110 wars going on now, as of today. How do you go about, is there anything where you could think of conflict?
Like peacemaking.
Peacemaking.
I think peacemaking starts with each side having a good experience, a positive effect of contacting the other side. And so if the war is already going on, that is very, very difficult. On the other hand, in the places where the war is about to go on, then you can employ the same set of tools like transcultural community listening and things like that, citizens' assemblies, democracy with a lower D on the local level. That really works wonders because we can prove, the study that proves if people have entered even like jury duty or citizen assembly with people that they thought they hate and discuss something of their common concern, then their minds become changed, and even years after that, they cannot antagonize or demonize the other side because of one shared experience. Yeah, so I think this preventative medicine is much more important.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That was one of my last talks. I said public health is prevention. So we have to prevent war before.
Yeah.
Before the conflict comes out.
Yes.
And unfortunately, people never talk about successful, again, like prevention, successful prevention of war.
Yeah, and because it's just like if people passed a law that says before the 911 attack that the airplanes need to have reinforced doors, it would just be seen as wasting money. Yeah, because they cannot say, oh, the attack did not happen because of me, because nobody know that there will be attackers.
Yeah.
Right? So that is the paradox about prevention.
What we always suffer from public health, the paradox of prevention is if you've done a good job,
Yeah.
nobody will say, well done.
It looks like you're wasting money.
Yes, this is the prevention of war. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, we're not telling the prevention of crisis stories. There are examples. I invited a diplomat from Botswana. There was a conflict with a neighboring country because there was a territory that both countries claimed as theirs. But a very interesting diplomat went to propose we go to the court, justice, but with his neighbor diplomat, he first made a memorandum of understanding saying that whatever the court will come up with, we will accept.
Refer to the Hague.
We will accept.
Okay, good.
Then they went. They had an especially talented international lawyers. The Hague said belongs to Botswana. And they accepted it.
Wow.
And nobody knows.
Okay.
Nobody knows. Nobody tells about it.
Well, we need to tell the story.
Yes, I invited this person and he gave a talk online, unfortunately only. But he told also how and why. And he did a great job. The story is and it's invisible. And now, as you said, this part is living in only in the sense that it's used for safari tourism. And people are coming in, you know, in this want to cross, and both countries allow tourists to cross freely the border to see elephants, tigers, and whatsoever. Yes, everybody, but nobody knows.
Yeah.
Even Botswana people, I have to tell them, I said, you remember in the 80s, I said, I'm not going to tell you the history, but it was an interesting way of solving a conflict. Like, you are in the pressure of a neighbor.
For as long as I remember.
Yeah.
For 40 years now.
Yes, yeah. First of all, I'm admiring how you and the island are quiet. This is already something. Having a neighbor who's always making we're going to fight you. And you stay, as I understand it, quiet.
Yeah, we're prepared and we're resilient. So we just enjoy being conflict.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the first thing. What do you do as other prevention of a possible conflict?
Yeah, when I was Minister of Digital Affairs, I made sure that our counter proposals, it's called the porcupine strategy. Like when they attack, they will suffer asymmetric damage. And also that when they try to destroy, for example, our subsea cables, we show that you will have to destroy the satellite of the UK or whatever to deny us communication. You have to declare war on most of the world. Right? So basically, the idea here is instead of holding this as national security, we made sure that our resilience and preparedness plans are radically transparent. And that serves as deterrence because Beijing knows that not just they know about our countermeasure, but the entire world also knows. Yeah, so they cannot attack in surprise. And without the element of surprise, nowadays with satellites, they cannot mount an attack bypassing the international community. So the only thing then they can do is to find a puppet in Taiwan and blockade Taiwan, scare Taiwan, and get a puppet elected as president, right? So, or like in the Kiev situation, Russia wants Zelensky to flee, and they can install a puppet in Kiev. The only problem is this January in our election, all three candidates in three different parties, they all reject the Hong Kong model. So no one become Beijing's puppet, or Beijing run out of puppets. And so that is the real deterrence, is to not make the plans or the counter plans in stealth, but rather make it into a pan-partisan, non-partisan issue. That we can make it such that each party say, oh yeah, of course, if I become president, I will continue this preparedness, this result.
What comes in the question of corruption? Usually for puppets, you just take them down and they will do their job.
Yeah, and so again, that's what radical transparency comes in, right? If they accept even Bitcoin, we have a way to make that known.
All kind of currencies.
Yeah, exactly.
So you think that this will help to get
Yeah, I think the radical transparency is the infrastructure. It is the common good. It is like peace, right? It's or clean air. You don't feel the radical transparency in normal times, but when people want to bribe politicians and so on, then it serves as the detergent.
They always want to get favors and have special situations.
I don't know, nobody bribed me. I served for 7.5 years, nobody even tried.
Yeah. No, that's why I asked you how does it work, because I am from a system that's bribing is high on the agenda, not visible, but tobacco industry very well manages. Other industries very well. So you think that an ongoing war is extremely difficult to get each again together?
I think it's only possible in the preventative stage.
That's the topic of my talk, by saying public health is like we should also prevent before that.
Yeah, but we can, scare people enough, just nuanced of the potential or even larger wars in order to make peace something like it's worth investing in.
Because we know the conflict. Everybody knew that Israel is a conflict point in the
Like in Taiwan, we have movies and everything that shows exactly how the day zero will attack when Beijing decides to invade Taiwan. So people are exposed as kind of art form or film or whatever.
Yes, I know.
Yeah, of the scenarios. Yeah. Exactly. And then that makes investment worth it. So you have to this constant level of awareness, but not too much.
Yeah, again, not to frighten people, to get depressed,
Yeah. Right, or to have hypocrisy or something.
Yeah. Chase it. But for me, it's prevention. It could have happened in the Middle East.
Yeah, it's just like saying, Gavi would have, had much more investment much earlier, or the monetary pandemic. But it does take a major incident for people to see it, and without a major incident, the best we can do is to tell the story minor incidents and tell it in a major way.
Tell the minor incidents.
In a major way, right? Like I go around the world talking about the Taiwanese polarization, the occupy of the sunflower, occupy of the parliament, our radical transparency. So all in all, I mean, our success in countering the polarization during the Arab Spring times is a very small example. In most other places, the Occupy movement either go nowhere or become very corrupt. Right, so our example is a small success. Yeah, but we tell very specific. But that is like a proof of concept. Like you do not have to accept doom when it comes to polarization. And so that story, even a small story, has a outsized impact.
Don't you feel it's something that's very specific to Taiwan?
I understand, and just like Botswana, right? You tell me the Botswana story. Right, yes. And the point here is not that you directly transfer. Like, I don't think Xi Jinping and William Lai can tomorrow go to The Hague and say that whatever The Hague says. Yeah, but
I accept whatever they say.
no, it's not like that, right?
Two talented very, very talented gentlemen who I think had a long-standing
Yes. So but the general principle is what matters. And the people who hear the story will mutate in their mind to fit to their habitat. Yeah, so still, I think spreading the story, even knowing that it's not directly transferable, is important.
I like to tell stories and say, it's just this story. Okay, I'm taking a lot of your time, but do you look at your emails, WhatsApp?
Yes, Signal, WhatsApp, email, everything. All right.
Then I sent you Durham. I think Durham on the beach on Hubble getting a prize was interesting in terms of surveillance. Civil surveillance of citizens being free and being surveilled, being prisoner and free at the same time.
Everyone in prison and the guards.
Yeah. So I'm not in a prison because I'm surveying the others. I'm a guardian in a prison, and so I thought it's an interesting term. Sorry, I asked so many questions.
That's very good.
To you to ask some questions to me.
So how often do you visit Taiwan? Okay.
Once a year to the global health and welfare tour.
I see.
That's my point when I come to Taiwan, and that's how I learned first the existence of Taiwan. Second, I was there to look at the health and welfare system. That was a time when I came back and said the time that it's very nice. And I just had learned it. It was so nice. And then I looked at the insurance system. And then usually I give talks on things here. This edition I choose the question of, because they called it the health right for all, and I question it by saying, but then we need all human rights. Health is interlinked with other human rights. It cannot work, it's not for all, it's very nice to claim it, but then we health people have to work for speech, for
assembly, for movement, because otherwise you don't have mental health.
you don't have mental health. You need all this to be there. So this was my little point this year. Sometimes, I'm invited to schools where usually my topic open because, that's my boss. She comes up with something. But the topic this year was health for all, and I said, wait, for all only words. If we make sure that everyone has the right to freedom of speech, education, about basic things for your work, like transparency, only words that you can read, a bit understanding. You can do with images, but you need a certain level of abstract system, how it isn't writing or something that can be all digital, but you have to have abstract thinking. Yeah, I'm coming to Taiwan now, I think 10th time. And I'm always taking something back. Now the most important thing is today, because I have followed you like every other fan of the center all the year on the internet. But I want to know what activities in certain nobody believes that I'm very biased for myself. What we can do now, I feel urgent. It's urgent. It's urgent. We cannot. Okay, I will be possess myself, but my then says now is the time to act. When I need quiet time, I'm out of the and then I say to do something. It's like too many places are showing us. I call it you can call it as you want. The European countries I know, and where I have go to places, they are I think we have to become something that involves and doesn't seem well, that's the task that I think I have to do as an MD, a little bit far away from where
the opportunity rises with time.
But yes, you started with languages of computers and the kind of working with societal models now. It's also something very interesting. That's I'm coming to Taiwan, yes, I think it's 10 years now. 24 years.
Have you been to other cities or mostly just Taipei?
I've been to Taichung this Monday. Invited me. Yeah, the Professor Lee there said we have a 13th annual meeting of the hospital, and our hospital in Taichung is organizing it. So from the plane I went Monday to Taichung and back here, and then started the meetings here.
Yeah, so the high-speed rails, like everything.
I took the high speed again, looking at this terribly organized. Sending the picture to my friend back in Geneva. I said, I'm taking it, it's working, people are queuing. I have a plan in Taiwan because I like mountains. I want to find the Jade Mountain.
Wow.
Because everybody tells me, well, it's only in certain times of the year, and so because you are also well behaved, well organized. In Switzerland, I would just walk up wherever. Here you say sometimes, pay attention and be careful.
Or you can get a helicopter.
No.
You don't have to land on the tip. You can go mid-wall.
No.
Okay, you don't want to take shortcuts.
Mountain climbing is doing the way you say.
Okay.
Step by step. Otherwise, it's cheating.
I know, but it allows you to skip the bad seasons.
You have to do it. This is a little one of my plans. Because, I like my project getting 100 women with breast cancer all over Europe on a 4,000. I like this going to rough nature. I think it gives you a sense of humility.
I think this is really good. That means that if you want to climb the Jade Mountain, you have to wait a very long time and wait for the right weather.
Yeah. No, that's because I feel like in mountains or on the sea, I do surfing. Like two human beings, one wave, I'm away. The wrong wave, when I'm surfing, the wrong wave, I'm up. So shouldn't take myself so serious. And that's, you know, that's important. That's important.
Very good.
So important. No, so important. You know, you fall down a mountain, like the first people climbing this Matterhorn, 3 of them fell down. Over. Finished. Just because they were not good to, just because they couldn't speak the same language. Because they came together without preparing the evening before climbing. They put on there's another one, let's go. It's a good symbol for what not to do.
Cautionary story.
Yes. If you want to work in a team, prepare the team. And don't say, hello, tomorrow we are a team.
Yeah, tomorrow
What's
let's
your
go to
name?
Matterhorn.
Yeah. What's your name? Ah, okay, you're coming tomorrow, okay. That can be dangerous. So this is about my visits to Taiwan. And I've never seen the beaches of, I know that you have on your seashore you have places with beaches. So I think that could be. But usually I come to Taipei, it's a global health forum, it's 2 days and I go out.
Yeah.
Like your tour. You're on tour, and I have several other places. The week before I was in Dubai, we often opened our regional office for the Eastern Mediterranean region, and then next week I will to Mexico. So that's why sometimes I come to Taipei only for, which I always feel is a little bit off.
Yeah.
But
I think for the beach, it's easier to plan.
yeah.
Like, not like hiking where you have to book a lot of extra time. Even if you just stay for 2 nights more in Taiwan, you can have very good views.
How the sea looks like on this island.
Yeah, it's a lot like what you said, because next to the Pacific Ocean or next to the sea, people do feel like very small and put things in perspective.
I have the COVID time in Germany and Switzerland had lockdowns, not like lockdown. So then I was on my island in the north. Everything was closed down, everything, and nobody came into the island because it's an island. So a friend of mine was there. She has a shop was closed. So we started to do a morning walk on the beach. And because the beach is inspiring, the open sea, we had excellent talks. And every morning, hi, good morning, and pop into the topic like truth has to be supported by human beings, or things like suddenly came up. You know, the mouse and the cat. You know the story. He said, we don't know. But this is typically how people change minds, and when they feel they cannot turn around, will be brought and right again. Don't really know. So every day we had, and at the end we said, oh, we put it together to a book. The things like how nature walks inspire your thinking. And now we're looking for an editor to get it out or to publish it. We don't know which kind of blog.
What's the name?
The title is Two Women on the Beach, The World is Moving.
Okay.
So we were in a stuck world, COVID, where nothing moves, and we said, two women on the beach, the world is moving. Our ideas were moving the world, not the world. The world was silent for a moment and very quiet.
Very poetic.
Yeah, I proposed the title and she liked it. So we both are very different because she's a fashion designer. And I'm more medical, more academic, more. Also, we did writing, like when we said we put it together, she sent in a bit, I sent in a bit, and we always say, and you see the style is completely different, but it's like our discussion on the beach, goes step by step. She said, I say, we'll kiss her, or for Voltaire. And I said, Voltaire has said it. Voltaire is a terrible person, but he said once something I liked. Uncertainty is very difficult to bear. But being completely secure or knowing is ridiculous. And I love it. It's ridiculous to say I know.
I only do things I think.
Well, merci, Monsieur Voltaire. His real name, Arouet, but Monsieur Voltaire. Merci beaucoup. And so, you know, I came in with, she said, I know. I said, now come on. She was saying something about, he knows everything. It's a mansplainer who explains women well. And she said, well, I was mansplaining. I said, knowing everything is ridiculous. Tell him Voltaire. And Voltaire explained a lot to kings and monarchs and the Europeans of that time. He went to see Prussian kings, he went to see a lot of so-called by then disturbing their thinking. Knowing is ridiculous. Knowing everything is completely ridiculous.
Yeah.
Suddenly,
我講同邊。